From New York City, it's the Wendy Williams Show. Now, here's Wendy.
All I'm saying is hi. Thank you for watching today. Give it up to my co-host and studio audience. Nice. How you doing? I'm doing okay. Let's get started. It's time for... Yes, come on. Welcome back. I mean, we have to talk about Robert Kelly again. I don't want to, but we have to because everyone's talking. And you know, I don't like to be left out of a movement and information. So this R. Kelly went back to jail. Remember yesterday during Hot Topics, we started at 10 a.m. I told you 10 a.m. he was supposed to report to court in Chicago. He was owing for his 3 kids like $160-something in back child support. He goes to court, there he is, going to court, that's the actual footage. He looks very dapper. Don't ask me about the hairline, that's that Beijing thing. They like that in Chicago, Detroit, and Philadelphia, you know what I mean? And then some of your modern day favorite rappers, that's not all their hair either. If you squint closely or look at your pillowcases once they get up. Anyway, so he goes back to court, and guess what he does? He offers to pay back $50,000 or $60,000, like like he's doing child support on layaway. Are you serious? So of course the judge says, that's not good enough. Where is the money? So they put him in jail. Right from there, he's in jail. And apparently, he's in jail until he pays this money back. If he only has $50,000 or $60,000, chances are he does not have this money. Well, you know, he's talked about not having money. We've already heard that he has no money, but you know, sometimes you don't have money if you can't read or write. Not laughable facts. He's admitted it himself, you know. This is a 52-year-old man walking around illiterate. This is a 52-year-old man who, according to networths.com, is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but that is not the truth. In a clip this morning, Gayle King asked Robert about his money situation, and you take a look at him spaz out.
How can I pay child support? How? If my ex-wife is destroying my name and I can't work, how can I work? How can I get paid? How can I take care of my kids? How?
Your ex-wife
Use
says,
your common sense.
Your ex-wife says you abused her, Robert.
13 lives. You know how many kids need a relationship with their father?
What is your relationship with your children?
Oh my God.
What is your relationship with your children?
Zero.
I mean, he's done it to himself. You know, he's done it to himself. Now, you might be wondering why the man who, you know, has Step in the Name of Love and I Believe I Can Fly, which was his monster crossover hit, which made him everything to everybody, has no money. It's because he doesn't own his publishing. Many years, well, he told me that. And remember I told you I had a sit-down moment with him in a studio? Well, he told me that, but he's also now told the rest of the world that. He doesn't own his publishing. What had happened was somebody either strong-armed him or tricked him. You know, when you can't read or write, you don't know what you're signing. And the people around you, they might have started out to be nice people, but when you realize what you can get away with when you're with somebody who's illiterate, you might become criminal too. So he owns no publishing. Do you know that he went to the bank for the first time in his life? A month ago, Bank of America, shout out to you. Look, he had never been to the bank. Never, at 52, like you've never been to the bank? Why? Even when you're big, big, big. You go, I bet you Beyonce goes to the bank, not all the time. Not all the time. But I bet you she's got her ATM card for a couple of dollars. I bet you she knows how to go in there and, you sit there, she's not standing in the line, but, sit down and go through the drive-thru and while she's driving her own car and they're like, hey, and and then she counts to be sure that she got what come on, Robert. He goes to the bank and he described to Gayle, he's like, I didn't even know what I was doing in there. What do you do? I felt lost. I felt like I was in a foreign territory. What do I do in the bank? So he left. Yeah, well, his two girlfriends, now you remember, these two women, one is 21 and one is 23, and they both seem very brainwashed. They are his current girlfriends. They spoke out this morning to Gayle. Everybody's talking to Gayle. And people don't like, by the way, that they're talking to Gayle. They feel as though, why are we even giving this guy a moment? Well, we're giving him a moment because he's one of the biggest artists ever, because this story will go down in infamy, and because there's something really disgusting and seedy and teachable in this moment in our own lives. You know what I mean? So he talks to Gayle this morning. And the girls are claiming that their parents encouraged them to sleep with him. This is back in the day. The girls have been with him for a moment now. Go ahead.
My parents told me to lie about my age. My parents were actually making me, trying to get me to take photos with him, take sexual videos with him, all kinds of stuff, because if they ever have to blackmail him, what they're trying to do now, they can use it against him, which is exactly what they're doing.
Everything that she's saying is true. Our parents are basically out here just to get money.
You guys don't know the truth. You guys are believing some facade that our parents are saying. This is all lies for money. And if you can't see that, you're ignorant and you're stupid.
Here's what I think. What I think is that it started out to be a money grab from the parents. There are parents out there that would release their children to a giant star and for the purpose of extorting the star. But R. Kelly's extortion game, or his hypnotic game, is so good, his brainwash game is so good for young girls' minds that these girls actually fell for it. This is what I believe. These girls are under a spell. And the parents, unfortunately, parents, this is your fault. This is your fault. And so the girl, Jocelyn, she called her parents and her younger sisters now for the first time in 2 years. Now for me, Jocelyn is 23. It is not unusual, although this is not my life at 23, but it's not unusual for a 23-year-old not to talk to their parents for 2 years. I'm gonna tell you why. Because, your head is thick, you're doing your own thing, you might be fighting with your family for God knows only what. It's not that unusual. People had passed away in the family. The girl Jocelyn still wasn't talking to the family. And that's not me, that might not be you. Norman, do you find that unusual, that a 23-year-old?
Well, I think we talked about this a little bit this morning. I mean, a little bit I find it unusual. 2 years not to talk to your parents?
Yeah.
That's a long time. I mean, maybe 2 weeks, sorry, Ma. But, but like 2 years is a long time.
Well, maybe it's just the people I know. I don't find that weird. And then you get back together and you become the best kids ever, as adults. But for 2 years, so this is the first time Jocelyn has talked to her mother in 2 years, and the siblings were there also. It seemed very, very scripted. Take a look.
I have told you guys a million of times that I am okay where I am and I'm happy. So I just really want to let you know that.
Who's listening to this conversation?
I'm telling you, nobody's listening to this conversation. This is me talking.
Hey, Jocelyn. It's Jory. We love you, Jocelyn. We love you, Jocelyn.
Love you too. I love you too.
Well, why haven't you been able to call any of your family, your friends, come to your granddaddy's funeral, and you know your grandmother has stage 4 cancer? You haven't called her, and they're very worried.
I understand that, but I'm just letting you know I need you guys to understand that I'm very happy.
Okay. You need to understand that that video was taken by the girl's lawyer in the lawyer's office, right? Huh?
It was the parents' lawyer.
The parents' lawyer in the lawyer's office, and it was taken right after R. Kelly was in. It was just done, is what I'm trying to tell you. Jocelyn had long pauses. I mean, it literally had to be edited down so that so we can fit it in, you know, enough for you to see and get the gist of this. And the 10-year-old, she looked about 9 or 10, her sister. That's not unusual for a 23-year-old not to talk to a 9 or 10-year-old sister, only because they didn't grow up in the same house. So if she's not talking to her parents, why would she talk to the sister? I don't know her. And then the other sister is 17 years old. The 23-year-old is out, you know, being under a trance from R. Kelly. Now, R. Kelly's team reached out to the Savage family, and that's the family's last name, yesterday. And they said that they are going to be setting up a meeting next week with their daughter. So I don't know what they're going to talk about in the next meeting. I guess we'll be pressed to have to pass it on to you. Don't be mad at me if I don't talk about it. But chances are something asinine is going to be said. And this is a horrible, horrible situation. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And when the girls, by the way, when the girls were talking to Gayle, Robert was over their shoulders. You couldn't see him. He was there at the set. And now I don't know whether that was planned, whether the girls knew or not, but yeah, somewhere back there. He was there. Horrible. And then can you deprogram? I mean, is that deprogramming thing, does that really work? Remember when the thing happened in Waco, Texas, a lot of the people were deprogrammed. I don't know. They do it? It works? Help them all. I don't think Robert is deprogrammable. I think that he needs solitary confinement. And with the leftover food, not the food that first comes out of the kitchen. With the leftover food, I don't think that he needs counseling because he's beyond counseling. He doesn't need to see anybody. His food needs to be sent through a slot. No exercise. If he wants to stretch, he can stretch in that 5x5 thing that he's in. His cot needs to be really hard, like a piece of cement. And his toilet never needs to be cleaned. He has to clean his own toilet. If he clogs it, then he just deals with that. But you know what I'm saying? He's only 52. He might get 25 or 30 years in prison. There's a chance that this man will still get out. He'll be somebody's girlfriend. Well, you know what? There apparently are always women willing to, oof. So did you watch Housewives of Jersey last night? Okay. That was lukewarm. This is our crowd. I know. Look, I watched it with a tug too, actually. Molly Ringwald was on with, oh God, what was the movie? Not The Breakfast Club. Anyway, there was a movie on and I was back and forth. Look, I like her. Joe Giudice, everybody, is getting out of prison this month. This month. They're not saying exactly what date, but this month. So last night, they had the reunion in Jersey, and this is a 3-part reunion. Last night was the last part of the reunion. So Teresa, Joe's wife, confirmed that if he gets deported to Italy, as the courts are saying, then their marriage is over. You take a look.
I'm not doing a long-distance relationship.
I understand. I totally understand.
You know, I want somebody with me every day. We do the long-distance thing. It's not gonna work. I'd be like, bye-bye. We hate to talk about it. So, believe it or not, we've only talked about it once. But He said it too. He's like, obviously, if that happens, I'm gonna move on with my life, you're gonna move on with your life, and that's what's gonna happen.
Okay. I only feel as though there's a 50-50 chance that Joe will get deported. I'll tell you why. Because the court system does have a heart, and they're gonna look at the fact that he does have a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, and an 18-year-old. All girls. And yeah, it doesn't matter that they're girls. These are tender ages. Also, Teresa is a really good mother. And the courts are gonna look and see Teresa's held the family together and whatnot. I feel like if he gets deported, then yeah, I'm with her. The marriage is over. My girls don't know how to speak Italian. My girls don't want to graduate from the University of Italy or, Italia High School. All of their friends are here. Why should we have to uproot our lives because the parents, and Teresa, you know. Because their parents did something dumb financially. Why should the girls' lives be ruined? So, but I also feel like if he doesn't get deported, that the marriage is still gonna work out. Here's why. Here's why. It's kind of like a Jersey thing. More so a Jersey Italian thing. Like the family sticks together and Joe's gonna come home if he does not get deported. He's gonna come to the beautiful mansion. Teresa's gonna be standing in the corner, looking at him like she wants to shoot him or something. But he's gonna be there with the 4 daughters and he's gonna be playing and joshing around. And he's a good father as far as when he's around the girls. And the laughter's gonna go and the food is gonna smell delicious in the kitchen and they're gonna have their meals together and then Teresa's gonna soften and soften and soften. And they're gonna try to work it out. Now, will they be able to work it out? No, I mean, I think that Joe is still incorrigible. He might be good to her for, a month or two. And that Teresa will continue to be a good wife. Teresa, are you dating? Like, what are we doing for us? Not for nothing. Just saying. Anyway, good luck to all of you. Today is a big day in the music industry. 30 years ago today, do you remember that group Milli Vanilli? Yes. Clap if you've never heard of them. Wow. So we've got, I love to surround myself by young people. The young people on the Wendy staff, surprisingly, have never heard of Milli Vanilli. They have no idea what today means in music. They're like, what? But then when they heard the story, they were fascinated. And so I said, well, do you think that this is a story worth doing or not? They said, no, do it, it's good. All right, so 30 years ago today, Milli Vanilli released their hit, Girl, You Know It's True. All right, then it catapulted them to stardom. This was in the late 80s. I was on the radio, I worked at a dance music station. I was part of, the DJ Frey that played them ad nauseum. It was a big deal because first of all, they're black and there weren't a lot of black people crossing over to dance music at that time. It was all Debbie Gibson and Rick Astley and Noel and like that. So it was a big deal. And then they have the accents and the hair, and there was something to look at. There was something to look at. So 1 year after their album was released, catapulting that hit, Girl, You Know It's True, they were exposed for lip syncing. Well, these days, that's not a big deal, but you don't even understand. It's worse than lip syncing. These guys' voices, they've never sang in their lives. Like, when you think of auto-tune, when you think of somebody with not such a good voice these days doing auto-tune, it means they sing their song and then the engineers just punch a few buttons and zhuzh it up to make them sound, worthy. These guys weren't even singing. They had, some guy who speaks perfect English, singing their songs. And the way their fraud was exposed, I remember it. I was a big mouth back then. Look, and very curious about what's going on. So They were performing for MTV. MTV was the big deal back then. It was like the Video Music Awards. And they won Album of the Year back then. Okay. So they're performing Girl, You Know It's True, and they're doing their hop, skip. You know, they have a signature dance. For whatever reason, I think the tape popped and we can't show you the video. But it's online. Look at it after our show is done. So while they were performing, the tape skipped. Girl, you know it's, girl, you know it's, girl, you know it's. And the guys spoke little English, didn't know the words to their own song. One of them was so embarrassed, he held his head and ran off the stage. The other one was just left holding the bag. MTV went after them and took their Video Music Award back. It was also that year that they won a Grammy Award for Best New Artist and Album of the Year or something. The Grammys came and took that award back. And they were sent into exile. So 30 years ago in musical history, thank you, Millie Vanilli. We've got more great show for you today, everybody. She's a reality star. She also happens to be the mother of Lindsay Lohan. Dina Lohan is here, so grab a snack and come on back.